In this video, we're going to glue the tail surfaces to the glider. One of the things is you want to make sure your boom is straight. This one looks pretty good, but sometimes the plywood can warp a little bit because of the humidity. So what I do in that case is I take a napkin and I wet the napkin and I apply whatever moisture is sticking to the napkin to the wood. And then if it's bending this way, then I kind of warp it backwards. And then when it dries, it should be a lot straighter. That's how you fix the warps if you have any. So our next step here is to glue the tail surfaces on, and you'll start with the horizontal tail. And you'll slide it into the little tab right there. Now if it doesn't fit, I purposely left extra material here to force you to round that leading edge. So if yours doesn't fit, it means you haven't rounded your leading edge. Mine looks pretty good. So I'll stick it into the tab like that, and that's going to be glued right there. I'm going to take some thick super glue, or medium, and put it into the slots. And then just along the tab here, on both sides. And then stick it down. And here we want to check to make sure that it's perfectly flat this way. So I'm looking down the boom to make sure that it's flat. And it is, so I'm sitting nice and pretty there. All right. Now my surface here, my tab, is a little bit lower than my wood, so let me kick that off first. And I'm going to need to sand that surface down just a little bit, but before I do, I want to make sure that it's sticking and it's not going to move on me. So I've got here some 220 grit sandpaper. So this is kind of a fine sandpaper. I'll just sand it down until the top of the tab is even there. You can see I'm filling it up with sawdust, so I'm not quite there yet. Close enough. When I put super glue, it's going to fill that slot. So now I'm putting super glue on the bottom of the fin. And the front edge of the fin goes right at the front edge of the horizontal stabilizer. And you'll look at the tab on both sides to make sure you got equal amount of fin sticking through there. And I'm looking down, making sure that it's nice and straight and not twisted this way or that way, because that's going to cause the glider to turn, and we don't want that. Okay, when you're satisfied, I'm going to put a fillet of glue along this edge. And because of that little notch right there, I can't go all the way along the very bottom, but I'm getting pretty close. That notch there is so in case we do have to warp this horizontal stabilizer up or down, in this case it would be down, we can still do that without having to move the tail at all. So now I'm just going to let this harden, and this is done. In the next step, we'll start building the pod on the front end of the glider.